So we have spoken about Tim Martin before on this channel and his absolutely ludicrously, shall we say, cheerleading of Brexit. However, it doesn't look like things are going to go his way. So this comes from Zello Street and it's literally called Wetherspoons, Your Boss is an Idiot. There are few more vocal supporters of a no deal Brexit than Tim Martin, founder of the JD Wetherspoons pub chain. He is truly drunk in the Kool-Aid to an extent of believing that no deal means free trade and the ability not to honour the UK's obligations to the EU, like stumping up the £39 billion divorce bill. Should Brexit go on ahead, he is about to get an almighty shock. But first, he wants to talk about the chain's latest results. The Financial Times has told that JD Wetherspoon's founder, Tim Martin, has lashed out at elite Remainers for ignoring the long-term benefits of leaving the EU after his pub group said that profits dropped more than 4% owing to higher costs during the year. Those rotten Remainers were, quote, ignoring the big picture regarding lower input costs and more democracy. More democracy, such as the prolonging of Parliament, perhaps. He continued, saying that despite the continued political problems stemming from the transfer of democratic power to a technocratic elite, Wetherspoons continues to perform well. That's the technocratic elite to which he belongs. But enough of Martin's idiotic dribbling. Let's subject this cutting-edge business acumen to a little real-world analysis. 1. Spoons, I love that. I'll always love it, call it Spoons. Spoons has just cut the price of some of its beers by 20 pence a pint. This, Martin claimed, was to highlight the advantages of leaving the EU, but it is not there is no EU external tariff on beer. Also, the beer which has had its price cut uses ingredients from the UK. Martin's excuse? He said that, quote, this is to reflect the overall potential for lower costs for the group in a lower tariff regime. Hello, Tim, you can't get lower than a 0% tariff. But there's more. Spoons is moving away from EU-sourced wines, but if there was ever such a punitive external EU tariff on wine, it would drive Martin's cost up. It doesn't, because at the moment the tariff ranges from about 9 pence a bottle on Australian wine to 0 on that from Chile. Number 3. Here's a local example for him. The Cheshire East voted to leave, but only narrowly, in a 51.2% to 48.8%. But Crewe, whisper it quietly, voted heavily to leave. So what did Spoons do to their pub in that town a year after the EU referendum? They closed it. The 1960 vintage shopping centre where the Spoons was located is slated to be demolished as part of a long-due redevelopment, but the chain has made no attempt to open another outlet. Meanwhile, up the road in Sandbeach, they voted to remain. The town, who has a Waitrose, and the Spoons there remains open. So if Martin wants to blame the Waitrose Warriors for boycotting his pubs, he's playing right into their hands. Hardly cutting-edge business acumen. But there's also still more. So the fourth and final point is many of those allegedly mainland European beers are actually brewed under license in the UK. This includes Beck's, Stella Artois, Carlsberg, Heineken, Tuborg and others. So axing them harms Britain, not maintaining EU jobs. And 5, the largest tariff on beers, wines and spirits is duty and VAT, which is levied by the UK government. Once again, Brexiteers blaming the EU for something that is the government's fault. And this is what you've had. You've had Martin, who's been going around saying, oh, we're going to do this, this and this. and then just ignored the fact what the biggest the biggest, shall we say, cost to his business is, as we said, is duty and VAT, but that is levelled by the UK government, not the EU. And once we become a third country importing stuff from the EU, that's where tariffs come. So yeah, once more, Tim Martin has drunk the Kool-Aid and I don't know whether he believes it or not. Like you could argue that a lot of the other, shall we say, high financing Brexiteers didn't believe the rhetoric, but they just want to get out of the EU because they can basically make an extra 100 million by not having to follow regulations. Whether Martin actually is like that, or whether he actually believes in what he's saying, we don't know. But I'll tell you what, that quote from the Financial Times just proves how much an idiot he really is. Because his main source of gripe in that entire article is, first of all, coming from his pub chain, which he controls and owns, and the next, his biggest gripe, is about how it'd be so much easier and cheaper when there are, quote, no tariffs and all this stuff. There are no tariffs at the moment. They are either zero or they are incredibly low. The biggest obstacle to him and his business is the UK government getting duty and VAT on his beer and products. But